They may be bright, fun, and a staple of many childhood mornings, but cereals like Fruit Loops and Cocoa Puffs are far from innocent. These sugary breakfast cereals, often marketed with cartoon mascots and promises of essential vitamins, are one of the most misleading categories of processed food on grocery store shelves. While they seem like a quick, convenient way to start the day, the truth is they're packed with sugar, artificial additives, and refined grains that offer very little real nourishment. For millions of children and adults, these cereals represent not just a poor breakfast choice, but a daily source of hidden dietary harm. A single serving of Fruit Loops or Cocoa Puffs usually contains around 12 to 15 grams of added sugar, and that's based on a modest portion size, about 1 cup. In reality, most people pour much more than that into their bowl, easily doubling the sugar intake before even considering the milk. That means one bowl could deliver more sugar than a donut or a candy bar, yet it's still labeled as part of a balanced breakfast. This early sugar spike leads to a burst of energy that quickly crashes, leaving kids and adults alike feeling sluggish, hungry again within an hour, and primed to crave more sweet, fast-burning foods throughout the day. What makes matters worse is the source of the sugar and grains in these cereals. The grains are typically refined corn or wheat, stripped of fiber and nutrients, then sprayed with synthetic vitamins in an attempt to appear healthy. But fortified nutrients aren't the same as those found in whole foods. They often aren't absorbed as efficiently, and they don't compensate for the damage caused by the rest of the ingredients. Instead of fueling the body with sustained energy and nourishment, these cereals flood the bloodstream with glucose and empty carbs that promote insulin spikes, metabolic dysfunction, and long-term weight gain. The artificial colors and flavors in Fruit Loops and Cocoa Puffs are another major concern. Bright reds, yellows, and blues may look fun, but they're created using synthetic dyes like Red 40, Yellow 5, and Blue 1, chemicals that have been flagged in various studies for potential behavioral effects in children and even allergic reactions. These ingredients are banned or require warning labels in some countries, yet they remain common in U.S. cereals, especially those aimed at children. The use of these additives is not about nutrition, it's about marketing, making the product more appealing visually while offering nothing of real value. Then there's the issue of portion distortion and how these cereals are consumed. Children rarely eat the suggested serving size, and when cereal is eaten straight from the box as a snack, as is common, it delivers all the sugar and starch without the small buffering effect of milk. This can lead to mindless overeating and normalize the idea that something packed with sugar and color additives qualifies as food. Over time, this shifts taste preferences toward hypersweet foods, making it harder for children to enjoy naturally sweet options like fruit or whole grains without added sugars. Even when these cereals are labeled as whole grain or good source of vitamins, the claims are often hollow. The grain content is minimal, and the added nutrients are simply tacked on to compensate for what's stripped during processing. Marketing slogans and health halos do an excellent job of disguising what these cereals really are: highly processed sugar bombs wrapped in flashy packaging. Parents are often misled into thinking they're making a reasonable choice for their children's breakfast, when in reality, these cereals can contribute to a lifetime of poor eating habits and health struggles. Long-term consumption of sugary breakfast cereals is strongly linked to increased risks of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and fatty liver disease, even in children. The consistent intake of sugar early in the day affects hormone regulation and appetite control, setting a metabolic tone that encourages overeating and energy crashes later. For adults, the habit is just as harmful, spiking blood sugar in the morning and failing to provide the fiber or protein needed to feel satisfied or focused. And the consequences are cumulative. A bowl a day might not seem like a big deal, but over months and years, it builds into a pattern that promotes inflammation, poor insulin sensitivity, and chronic fatigue. The cereal industry, like the soda industry, has invested heavily in marketing and public relations to maintain its image as a family-friendly, healthy option. Cartoon mascots, bright colors, and health claims distract from the ingredient list, which reads more like a chemistry experiment than a food label. With billions spent annually to influence consumer behavior, the industry ensures these cereals remain household staples, even as public health suffers. Ultimately, cereals like Fruit Loops and Cocoa Puffs are not food in any meaningful sense. They're processed products designed to mimic food, crafted for taste and addiction rather than health. What they offer in flavor and convenience, they more than take away in terms of health, energy, and well-being. Starting the day with these cereals might feel familiar and easy, but it's a nutritional choice with lasting consequences. The bright colors and sugary taste may appeal to children and trigger nostalgia for adults, but beneath the surface lies a dangerous blend of refined carbs, added sugars, and artificial ingredients that should never be considered a good way to start the day.